Rudy, hi, nice to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Not too bad.
Good.
Yeah, so my name is Rudy. I use he, him pronouns, and I had top surgery at Parkside Hospital in London in June 2021 with Victoria Rose.
Great. Okay, good. So I'm assuming that you had it on the NHS rather than privately, and that you went through the service here in Wales. I remember that you were on testosterone for quite some time before you made that decision. So talk to me a bit more about that, those are earlier steps in terms of thinking things through.
Sure, I actually wasn't sure if I wanted top surgery or not for ages. Um, I don't, I didn't ever really have the really debilitating, obvious kind of dysphoria that a lot of trans men do. I didn't mind much, to be honest. I just sort of wore very baggy clothes and layered up to kind of flatten myself. But yeah, so I didn't have any major issues. And for ages, I thought that meant that I shouldn't have top surgery. Um, but the way I sort of framed it in my head was, how likely is it that I will actively miss having breasts versus how much easier will it be to wear clothes and feel comfortable and not have to worry about binding or being misgendered? Like, what would that way up be? And I kind of concluded that actually, yeah, no, I'd be very unlikely to miss having breasts, and I'd be very likely to enjoy wearing clothes without that kind of thing. And I'm really glad I made that choice because it has been, it's been a really good one. And I think that I was feeling a lot of dysphoria that I didn't consciously realize, because my confidence and my comfort, my baseline anxiety levels are so much better now. But yeah, so I was on testosterone, I think, for a good few years, probably about 3 years before I was even referred for top surgery.
Yeah.
Um, so the fat redistribution had done what it was going to do. Um, and I still had fairly large breasts, so I was quite worried about results and stuff, because there's a lot of talk online about, having X type of body will mean you get bad results or whatever. So there's a bit of
Yeah.
that thing, but that's turned out to be complete nonsense. Like, I haven't had any issues with that at all. So yeah, so that's kind of how I came to the decision to have top surgery. The process in Wales is slightly quicker than England, so I had an appointment to have the signature. I think it was in the November, and then I had the consultation in March, and then surgery in June. But that was during COVID, so it would have been even quicker than that,
Mm.
probably, because I know that I was pushed back a bit with the consultation because of COVID.
That was the
Um,
consultation at Parkside, your first
yes,
surgical
yes, my first
appointment.
consultation, yeah. Um, so yeah, so it was a lot shorter time scale than I think we're used to hearing about uh,
Yeah.
online and stuff.
Okay. And I remember seeing you tweeting about your experiences, and I'd known you in a prescribing capacity long before you, like you said, you were on testosterone. And I remember supporting that prescription for you, and I remember you sort of talking really coherently about, where you were at and following that through. You've always thought out loud, which I found really helpful because it gives
Yeah.
me so much insight that I can share with other people. And I suppose in part that's why I wanted to ask you all about your experiences today and capture it on film, because I think you've always had this kind of thought process. And I remember you tweeting about how after the event you just realized how much dysphoria was there, but you'd
Mm,
actually not really logged on to that, logged
yeah.
into that area, and how liberating it felt for you. So just to rewind a bit, how did
Hmm.
you prepare in terms of finding information from other people about chest surgery? You said you'd heard some things and that you'd been a bit put off or a bit worried. Where did you go to
Yeah.
find information? Who did you talk to?
It's a funny one because I don't remember ever going out my way to look exactly, but being friends with a lot of trans people on social media, people share stuff, they post stuff. I think on Twitter especially, there was this kind of thought or ideas that come from somewhere that top surgery is only for people who have really bad dysphoria, and like so much of the conversation is like, oh, top surgery saved my life, I'd be dead without it, and all that stuff, which is obviously very valid, but that wasn't really what I felt. Like, there's a lot of fear mongering about top surgeons won't work with people who are big or have big breasts, or if they do, then it looks really bad. And I don't know, there's all kinds of ideas that kind of circulate on social media with trans people that I think are quite outdated, because I think a lot of them come from years ago, you know, and things change really
Right.
quickly. And yeah, so I to be I gotta be honest, I don't think I ever really went out of my way to be like, right. I do remember actually looking on YouTube when I first got referred at a couple of like vlogs of people preparing for top surgery.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know, I just wasn't as sentimental about it as a lot of people seem to be. I think because I wasn't 100% sure of the effect it would have. I knew it would have a net positive effect, but I wasn't quite sure how much it would change stuff. Um, so yeah, I guess I wasn't quite as sentimental about it. Like I know that I remember watching one, and there was someone like making a whole thing of like burning their bras before top surgery and having this like huge party and stuff. And I was just like, that's intense, you know. I was just sort of going about my business, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was quite nervous / excited, but yeah, in terms of preparation, I don't know. I didn't really do a whole lot. I know that a lot of trans men like to like look up all the different surgeons and whatever, but I think for me, I was just kind of like, I know that the NHS doesn't let really bad surgeons operate. Like I knew there was going to be a certain standard, so I wasn't that worried about it. I just sort of wanted it done. I also have a therapist, like a long-term therapist, who was really helpful. And one of the big things I didn't want to do was like build up in my brain this like, oh, this is gonna be like the biggest day of my life, and then wake up and be completely like, oh, I'm still the same person, I still have the same life, you know, and I just don't have boobs anymore. And so yeah, so part of that preparation I think was to not get too swept up in like sentimentality, because I ultimately I wasn't sure if it was going to be this big spiritual experience that people talked about. So I think that was part of my preparation, to be honest, because I am a very melodramatic person by nature. So try to keep it calm was like
Yeah.
part of it. I think Teddy's laughing up to the side. Shut up.
Yeah. But
um,
you know, you made your decision. You weighed
yeah,
it up in your head. You know, what, you know, as it is, no, leave it as it is, and go through life as this is, as, you know, in this body with these changes and this experience socially and personally and physically, or, you know, the post-op option. And when I
yeah,
once you made your decision, I suppose it sounds like it was a very personal one about, well, this is for me, and
yeah,
this is actually what I'd like to do. And yeah, it's great. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. It
definitely
was.
people prepare in different ways, and that's all good. That's all important. So
Yeah, yeah, the other thing was there's so much practicalities to sort out. But I have really good friends, obviously, at Aid Cymru, and they had a list of everything that people need for top surgery. I was the guinea pig, actually. So they got me everything you can think of. Even had some home cooked meals from a friend to heat up,
great.
you know. It was amazing. So I didn't have to think about any of that. But I think that is one of the things I would say. The practicalities, you don't really get a list, you know, when you have top surgery, you don't really
Right.
get any kind of list from the hospital or anything.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff to think about.
Especially if it's your
Um,
first surgery, and so for so many people
yes,
it is, because you
yeah,
know, you
yeah,
otherwise young and fit, healthy, never had a
yeah,
surgery before. And so I'm really interested to know a bit more about the Aid Cymru pack, because I know that I've seen it in various iterations, and I know you were the guinea pig for it. So yeah, talk me through some of that, because that's really handy info to share.
yeah. So the way it works for people who are having top surgery is quite easy. We have like you come to us, you email us or whatever, get in touch with us social media, and we have a Google form, and it's got, I think we have one for top surgery, one for bottom surgery. And it's got like a long list of everything you might need. And you basically go, right, I would want that, I would want that, I got that, I don't need that, don't bother ticking it. And so you get the thing, and then basically Translate Cymru sends it out to you for free, everything.
Wow.
Um, and if you're in Cardiff or South Wales, you have also the option to get some meals cooked by our meal share scheme, which are delicious. So that was just, it made it so much easier. Like, it covers
Oh, that's
everything from
amazing.
pillows. They gave me a spare compression binder, which was actually a lot better than the one they gave me at the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, like I took it to my post-op consultation and she was like, wow, these are better than ours. Just wear this one. Ours are rubbish compared to this.
Great.
We have a person on the team who loves to do research and stuff. So they just did a lot of research with people who did top surgery
Well,
and
you
like
should recommend it to
everything.
the team and maybe they'll
Yeah.
start procuring
Yeah.
those
Like
instead.
I think that Sammy is quite keen for you to start referring people because we've got it there. I think we've got the budget to do one a month and we only do like 3 or 4 a year at the
I
moment,
think
I
it's
think.
lovely because
So
it's practical, but it's
yeah,
also just to feel as though you've got people, gunning for you and full
yeah,
support. It's more than
yeah,
just a thing, isn't it? It's something that you've been given, and it's about really valuing the person in the middle of that surgery. And I think even just the experience of any surgery, regardless of what it is quite, by its nature, depersonalizing because you
yeah,
have to be a little parcel and have things done to you. Of course, you consent to these things, but you do still feel very vulnerable.
yeah,
And I know that I talk to a lot of people who are very worried about having an anaesthetic. So they're not actually worried about the surgery. They've researched it to death. They know exactly what happens. They've reached out to people who've shared their experiences of it, so they know from other perspectives how it feels to wake up and have a flat chest, for example. But it still feels extremely stark being in that anaesthetic room and feeling as if you're about to lose control, hand over
yeah.
control to someone you can trust. Obviously, anaesthetists are, quality assured, but it is an odd feeling actually having to
It
give
is,
it up
yeah.
that way.
It was a weird day the day of top surgery because I was partly convinced. Should we talk about the consultation
Yeah,
first before we get to
sure.
that bit? So
Yeah.
the consultation was very short, actually. It was about 15 minutes. That was it. And I'm not sure if that was because I was a fairly simple case because I didn't have any kind of issues. But I went in, and if you go to London, I will say there's 2 different sites they use. So make sure you check the address. And so I went along to the thing. I traveled down obviously all the way to London and I expected it to be an hour. It was literally 15 minutes. And so she was like, tell me your journey so far. Why do you feel that top surgery is right for you? So we had a chat about that. And then she said, can I have a look? Just so we can see what the options are.
Yeah.
And because I had a big chest, obviously she was like, yeah, you'll have to have double incisions. You couldn't really have, is it peri? Is that what
Yeah.
they call it?
Perio,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was fine. I was expecting that. And then we went over, health conditions, medications. She showed me some pictures of her results. And I really appreciated it because she showed me like the worst one she'd ever done, and then like the average and then the best. But she said like the best was like a masterpiece and don't expect the best, expect something in the middle. But she showed me the worst, which I really
That's great.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Um,
Expectation management, really
yeah,
good.
definitely. And so yeah, and then I think she took a couple of pictures as well. But yeah, no, I think, and that was basically it. It was fairly quick. And yeah, we talked about whether I wanted nipple grafts or tattoos, and I chose tattoos. She asked me who would be looking after me after surgery. Went through a couple of the practicals, and that was it. I was sent on my way, and I was sort of like, well, that was a long journey for 15 minutes. But yeah, no, so it was very relaxed. And you have the option to ask any questions as well. I got a feeling she also asked if I wanted to know exactly what she was going to do. And I said, absolutely not. I was like, no, I don't. I do not want to know.
Spare me those details. Yeah. Just
Yeah, all I want to know is that you'll get them off. I don't care. Like, just don't.
That's nice
So
because
yeah,
some
no,
people
that
are
was
real
fine.
details people, aren't they? And some
Yeah,
people would much
yeah.
rather
Oh
just,
yeah.
yeah. Great.
My friend Kira actually watched surgery videos when Shash was gonna have a specific surgery.
Yeah.
I was like, you mad? Oh god. Anyway, but yeah, mad. I couldn't do that. No, definitely not. I always close my eyes in Grey's Anatomy when they're doing the surgery. Um, but yeah, so that was the consultation, and then after that, but before surgery, I also had like a health screening with a nurse, which was at a different site, and I had to do a different trip down for that, and that took about an hour. It was very, very in depth. They weigh you, do your height, do your blood pressure, blood test, everything you can think of.
Yeah.
Ask about all your family's medical history, just like really, really in-depth health check, which was very long. And they did say to me at that point that they had concerns about my weight, and that I had to lose a certain amount of weight before the surgery, which was in 2 weeks. Otherwise, the
Ooh,
surgery might be cancelled. So that was very stressful. But it turned out
yeah.
anyway, in the end, that that was nonsense, so that she shouldn't have said that to me. But I only found that out on the day of surgery. So it was a bit
Gosh.
stressful in the lead up, which is why I think my surgery day was so weird, because I had been trying to make myself okay with the fact that if they did say no, we can't do it, I wouldn't just have a breakdown. So I was like
Yeah.
preparing for that, which is why I felt so when they said, oh, they didn't even mention it anyway in the end.
Mm.
Um, so I was just shocked that they were actually gonna do it. So it was a funny thing in my head that day. But the staff at Parkside were absolutely amazing. I also had a COVID test, I think 2 days before,
Sure,
but
sure.
I'm not sure if they're doing that anymore. But I was already down anyway, so it was fine. So they were a fair few trips. I will say be prepared for multiple trips back and forth to London.
Mm.
You can claim those expenses back from the NHS, but it takes 6 months, which is what it took me. It took 6 months.
Gosh,
And yeah, so you got to kind of prepare for that, save up a
keep
bit,
your receipts, yeah.
keep your receipts, yeah, put it in straight away, like as soon as you can, because it takes forever. So yeah, that's one thing I'll say. I think let me count. So I did the consultation, health check, surgery. Then after surgery, there was, I think, 10 days to 2 weeks after top surgery. There's like, you see the nurse and she changes your bandages basically.
Yeah, and that's your
Um,
first view, isn't it? Unless you'd peeked
yes, it is.
before, really,
Yeah, it
that would have been
is.
your first view. And
Yeah,
there's a
so you
mirror
see it
there,
for the
isn't there?
first
So you
time.
can see when they take the
I don't remember
dressings
if there
down. Were
was.
you able to see?
I
Were you
just
in that
looked
room?
down, I think. I remember being quite anxious because I don't know, I had the distinct feeling that everything was gonna just, I don't know, fall out. So I was just like panicking. That I don't cope well with the body horror stuff, which is why I didn't have nipple grafts, because I knew that'd just be too much. So I was like, I can't.
Keep
Um,
it simple.
yeah, so yeah, no, I don't remember. There might have been a mirror, but I didn't take a good look.
You
I
just
had
look
seen it
down.
though. Yeah, I had seen it because I think no, I didn't have like the full bandages. I just had like the bandages
The
across here.
ones
So
across
I'd
the,
sort of
yeah.
seen it. Lying down was a very strange sensation actually at that, because you had to lie on a bench and you don't lie down obviously when you sleep for the first few weeks. So
Mm.
lying down for the first time was a very, very weird feeling. So yes, you have that 10 days to 2 weeks after surgery, and then you have a 6 month. I know you have a 6 week, yeah, and then a 6 month. So I think that's what, 6 trips.
Mm.
So it's a lot of trips. I remember when I first woke up, was it was I remember vividly, because obviously you're absolutely out of it
Yeah.
anyway. Um, and I remember trying to wake up. I was desperate to wake up, and because I remember being really worried that they hadn't updated my family, because my family were really stressed about it.
Oh,
And I like forced myself to wake up, but I was like, "What time is it? Oh God, have you told my partner and my family, that I'm okay?" And she was like, "Oh no, we don't do that." And I was like, "What?" So I was like trying to wake up enough to have my phone.
that's
I
my
was just
phone.
like, so I was quite distracted for the first sort of half an hour, but then I sort of remembered why I was so doped up, and I think it's because I did this, and I was like, but it wasn't a total shock or anything. It just
Mm.
felt very I was like, oh, huh, oh, okay, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I guess. And I remember feeling not relieved that they'd gone, but relieved that I didn't panic and be like, oh God, what have I done? So I was relieved that I didn't completely freak out. But I remember thinking, like, I need to remember what this feels like, you know, being a writer. I need to remember, just in case I ever write my autobiography, I need to remember this pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting like some spiritual like lightning bolt, like, oh my God, my life is forever, but it was just comfortable, I was surprised by how comfortable I felt with it. It didn't take any kind of processing or anything really. It was kind of weird because I felt very, very calm and very like centered. I'm very, very tired though. But yeah, I was just very, yeah, I was just chilling. I was like, these are some strong painkillers. I'm just, yeah. And to be honest, that was the other thing is I was really surprised about, was that I really didn't experience the post surgery depression. I had it quite badly with my appendectomy. So I was expecting it and I was sort of prepared for it. But yeah, I don't know, I just didn't really have it this time around. I think because also I was very like mentally zen and prepared for it, whereas my appendectomy was kind of, well, it was an emergency surgery, so I wasn't exactly prepared. And obviously I had Teddy with me, my partner, the whole time once I got back to the place we were staying. So I mean, the first 24 hours were fine. The worst part of the first few days, to be honest, was the sleeping, because you have to sleep sitting up. And I had a lot. Transit Camry gave me specialist pillows, but it was awful. I haven't. We take lying down for granted because lying down is just the best, and it was just awful to just sort of have to sit and try and sleep. That was definitely the worst part, 100%. The other bad thing was the compression binder. It might not be as bad for people who are used to binding, but I really wasn't used to binding at all, so it was just awful. I hated it. It would really rub under the arms, really, really tight. I also have asthma, so that didn't help. That was definitely the worst part of the whole thing, was the sleeping, sitting up, and the binder. But like I said, Transaid Cymru had like a softer one, that it was, so the one they give you at the hospital was like a half tank binder.
Yeah.
But the one that I had from Transit Camera went all the way down, so it was a lot less, like it was putting a lot less stress on my bottom ribs. So yeah, so that was a lot better then. But I waited until I'd seen the nurse at the 10-day appointment to check that one would be okay, because I didn't want to wear one that wasn't going to be okay. So yeah, so I did about 10 days in the really, really tight one from the hospital, and it was awful, awful, absolutely awful. But like I say, if you're used to binding, it probably isn't going to be that bad. Other than that, it wasn't too bad. It helped. It's the kind of surgery that you can walk around, you can move around, but you can't really use your arms.
Yeah.
I would say you definitely need someone with you, like if at all possible, you need someone with you for the first like week or two. Yeah. Oh, that's one of the things actually that not a lot of people know is how long do you stay in hospital? Some people think that you have to stay in hospital for like a week, which isn't the case at all. So I had my surgery in the morning, and then they kept me in that night, and then kicked me out in the morning, quite early in the morning, actually, if I remember rightly. Yeah, well, they wanted the next guy in, didn't they? So it's understandable. If I'd had any complications, obviously they would have kept me in another night, but I was fine. But I remember the nurse being quite insistent that I put on my shirt by myself. She's like, "But no, you have to do it yourself." And I was just like, I hadn't even been 24 hours yet, you know. Like she was a bit of a she was very bossy actually. She was like, "No, we gotta know that you can do it yourself before we can let you go. So put your shirt on. Come on."
Not have you walking around shirtless in South Wales.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. Luckily, it was button-up shirts instead of t-shirts.
Yeah,
you need a lot of them. That's one of the big things, but that's a very well-known
right
thing. Yeah, I didn't wear anything except button-up shirts for honestly weeks. Even after the healing period, because you're still very stiff.
Yeah, very sore
for quite a while.
Yeah.
So button-up shirts are good.
So your mention of the post-op depression you were talking about there, the dip in mood that some people can get with the anaesthetic, which obviously wears off after 24 hours. But of course, if you wake up and feel terrible, it can be, easy for people to conflate that with regret about their surgery. And it's good that you were prepared, that you knew that it existed, because we try to counsel people about that, just to make sure, because we can't predict who's going to experience it. So it's good to be prepared. I mean, in general, you were prepared for most things. You were prepared to be let down, in your outpatient appointment, because you were worried about possible BMI restrictions. You were prepared in terms of, Transaid Cymru obviously had already prepared you with the physical things that you might need. You have Teddy, your partner, supporting your recovery. So it's nice that you just had to rock up and see what happened.
Basically, it was great. It's really important, if you can, to have people around you that you can rely on, really. Even if it's a friend, it doesn't have to be a partner. I'm planning to help out a friend when she has bottom surgery next year or this year, whenever it happens, because she doesn't have a partner. But it's definitely important to kind of have someone you trust around.
Definitely.
I have heard of people doing it themselves, but it's not ideal. You don't want to be worrying about cooking for yourself or whatever when you're in the first few days.
So tell me about getting back out into the big wide world with your chest.
To be honest, I was raring to go. It's a funny one, the healing process, because they say, you got to take 6 weeks off work. That the 6 weeks is like the primary recovery period. And I was gagging to go by about halfway through week 3.
Yeah.
Especially because I didn't have the nipple graft as well. So it was only the incisions. I don't know if I really needed 6 weeks, but yeah, I did. I was forced to wait the 6 weeks. But I was going out and about, I think, by middle of week 4.
Yeah, sure.
With Teddy. I don't remember going out the first couple of times with Teddy much, but I do remember going out the first time by myself. And I was just like, I couldn't believe how much different it felt. Like it was so strange, because I wasn't even aware that I was so anxious in public before. I didn't even know. And I was so zen and like confident. It's really hard to put into words, really. Like there was a weight on you that you didn't even know that was there. And then when it's gone, you're like, oh, I can walk a bit taller, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I used to still get misgendered most of the time before top surgery, and I very rarely get misgendered now unless I'm like, playing up to the whole no gender nonsense stuff, if I'm feminine or whatever. But yeah, it was weird. It was very weird, the kind of shift, and the shift of how people treated me, because I think it was, like I said, because I now passed, people treated me a lot differently, which was very weird to get used to. Mostly it was good, I mean, it was a positive thing in the sense that men respected me more, whatever, but also it felt quite uncomfortable because experiencing male privilege felt quite uncomfortable, because I was just like, oh, I don't like this. I don't know about this. It's an evil I don't want to be a part of. So that was the thing. But yeah, I remember walking around in my clothes the first time, and they actually fit, rather than like, because I was wearing a button down, and before top surgery, the buttons would always be, doing the thing where they bulge in, and it was just perfect fit, and it was just like, wow, I can actually enjoy wearing clothes for clothes, and not just, being worried about which bit will make me look the least, curvy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a complete shift. It was a lot different than I expected it to be. And I think it wasn't until then that I realized how positive it had actually been for me, having top surgery. I think I was more confusing to people before top surgery. People didn't quite know what to make of me. But now it's like, if I'm walking down the street, they're just like, oh, it's a little gay dude walking. It's just not. It's not a thing that people are like. I'm not getting ogled as much. I used to get and I used to get like stuff like kids on the, like, I remember one. Oh God, I was like, who's raising kids like this? It was a little girl. I was standing in the the middle, and the little girl pulls on him. I'm just it's like, Mummy, what is that? Pointing at me, and I'm just like, excuse me, like next to me. It's not like she was far away. And the mother was just like, oh, don't look at it, and I'm just like, what?
Oh,
But
good
yeah, so
Lord.
I don't get that anymore. But yeah, so it was difficult before top surgery in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier now. I don't have to like constantly be in my head being like figuring out, is it better to, you know, walk home in the dark or get a taxi, because I'm fine to walk home in the dark now because no one's messing with me yet. Well, they could, but it's unlikely. So yeah, it was like, I to be honest, I'd say for me, top surgery was a very practical decision rather than like a spiritual one. There was a lot of stuff about it that I just knew that, practically speaking, it would improve my life. I think it like I say, is slightly different to the dominant narrative, which is, oh, I can't shower because, which is true, and some people have this, I can't shower because of the bad dysphoria. It wasn't like that for me. And I think that top surgery should be available to anyone who thinks it might improve their life. And people shouldn't, I find that a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I had top surgery, then someone else who needs it more can't have it. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how, you know, we have all the time in the
There's
world,
enough to
really.
go
There's
round.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if more top surgeons need to be trained, then more top surgeons will be trained in the private healthcare sector. That is what it is. So, but I think people often feel scared about taking up that space for themselves if they don't feel like they're trans enough, or have enough dysphoria or whatever. It's just it's nonsense, because if it'll improve your life, then it'll improve your life. Like,
and sometimes it's about congruence, isn't it? It's about a better fit.
And safety, like, even if it is like a safety thing, that's very valid. It is scary to be like a non-conforming trans person, moving around and not passing.
Scary to be a non-conforming any person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically, yeah. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Thank you. You're such a generous soul, and I always enjoy a good natter with you, Rudy, anyway. So, but particularly focusing your thoughts on this, because, for people watching it, they might take one little thing and go, and remember that, that's the thing, that's why we want to make these little recordings. Your experience is your experience, and there are so many experiences.
Absolutely.
Reasons before, reasons during, and reasons after, and experiences throughout that process. But actually, just hearing one story for some people is great. So thank you so much.